The world is best in the best combination with robots and humans working aside. It's a huge market opportunity as well. If you see that the numbers of workers in building construction doing super repetitive and stressful tasks, it's like, why not develop a robot to do it, right? A robot is definitely cheaper, at least 5 times as cheap that we need the robots. Our initial idea was that with a robot you can do any repetitive task. We thought, let's make basically a temp agency, but then for robots. And then we said, let's just do it and see where we get. And then we worked like for 1 week based on Red Bull.
Hello, Heico. Thanks for coming. And yeah, it's our fifth episode, fifth with the guest, 6th episode on this platform. And if you like our episodes, just don't forget to subscribe, leave a like and comment. So let's get into the episode. So yeah, Heico, introduce yourself to the guests and who you are, what you do. Yeah.
All right. So my name is Heico Sandee. I'm founder and CEO of Smart Robotics. Smart Robotics, so we'll talk an hour about Smart Robotics, right? So maybe I'll start with a personal introduction. So I actually graduated and got my PhD here at Eindhoven University of Technology. After which I worked for 4 years at Canon Printing. And then I actually moved back at the university to be a program manager with basically the task to sort of marry up all activities going on in robotics at the universities, or at this university, because that's also basically what I love so much about robotics, is that robotics is something that you need a lot of different disciplines for, right? You need mechanical, electrical, software, mechatronics, you name it. So robotics was and is still happening in a lot of different faculties. So that was my task then. Did that for 3 years. Afterwards, I became technical manager at Alten, which is a big French company in which I started a branch in robotics, basically, together with a partner. And afterwards, in 2015, started Smart Robotics as a robotics company in the logistics space.
Yeah, and maybe we can then move on to what is the vision of Smart Robotics and what is the company about?
So in Smart Robotics, we believe that that the world is best in the best combination with robots and humans working aside, both in their strength, so to say. So whereas a robot is really well capable of doing the highly repetitive work and the how do you say, the more strengthful jobs, a human is way more capable in doing the creative stuff. So we believe in bringing them together, actually working side by side in either a production facility or a logistics facility or whatever, that the combination of this will bring the best in both. And this is what we are doing, especially in the logistics space. So basically, we are developing and delivering handling robots. So it's robot arms, working in the logistics to do all kinds of handling tasks. So think about building up pallets of boxes. Think about order picking, all these kinds of tasks that we do, like I said, side by side to basically improve the quality of work for the workers there. So to not expose them to the really, so lifting a box of 30 kilograms each 5 seconds, that's something that you want a robot to do. But if you then have all these super difficult things that you also need to be able to handle, like a bag is accidentally ripped open and needs to be taped, that's something that a human is way better capable of doing. So that's basically what we're here for.
Okay, it sounds like you do a lot, and it sounds like to start such a company, it requires a lot of resources. So we, as a student, being in the university, sometimes we ask, like, what is the path of starting? Like, how it all starts, especially in robotics, where it seems like you need a lot of initial investment, initial capital, and maybe like you have to know people around to actually start such a venture. Nice
question. So I think it starts with a great idea and some people around you that have the joint passion to realize this idea. I think that's where it all starts. And then, of course, the next first step is to gather your resources and able to start delivering on that idea. So when we started, yes, it was tough to get funding because you don't have anything. Basically, you have a nice idea, but it's like difficult with a nice idea to get investors convinced of spending their money. So we started with a bit of money from some relatives. A bank put in a little bit of money, and so we gathered some money, hired the first brilliant minds to actually start building what we wanted to build, and basically started and built the whole thing over time. So. And we changed a lot over time as well, right? So the whole idea that we started with is very different from what we have right now. It's just learning by doing and trying and modifying the whole organization while you're doing it, building it up, growing iteratively, and basically by growing you get more learnings and evidence of what you're doing, and that creates the ability to get larger investors in the company. So that's how we grew to what we are right now, with a bit over 50 people, with some big investors behind us, like Toyota, having delivered over 100 of robots throughout Europe. So. Yeah.
Okay, it sounds super cool. You mentioned that the idea kind of switched from what you have now to what was initially thought. So maybe you can expand on that. Like, what was your initial idea?
Yeah, so our initial idea was that with a robot you can do any repetitive task. So we thought, let's make basically a temp agency, but then for robots. So let's supply robots for any market, any task, and we'll have the robot doing that specific repetitive task. So we actually did. So we deployed some robots at Philips, at the shaver factory. We've deployed robots in building constructions. So it's actually making walls. We have robots in the lab environment, in testing, in metalwork. So a lot of different robots. But while doing so, we also learned as a company that to become really good and basically the best of the world in something, it's difficult to serve such a broad market. Whereas your technology might be able to deliver on all these different applications for these different markets. Smaller details, like in, for instance, the user interface, still are actually different if you really tailor-make it for a specific market. So, just looking at the people walking around on a building construction site, that's different people walking around in a lab environment. They and for them, you basically are better off providing them with a different user interface. Also, if you look at the organization, so at Smart Robotics, the people that you hire might know the one market way better than the other market. It's and the dynamics within that market as well. So that's why I think it was after like 2 or 3 years, that we decided to fully focus on the logistics market. Mainly because the market was still is basically still very young in the sense of deploying robots. So it's a huge opportunity for us to actually be one of the first and one of the biggest really to deploy robots in that field. And the growth opportunity was like, and is still like amazing. So if you just take one company out there, like a Ball or a Coolblue, like if you look at the ability per company to deploy hundreds of robots already, and then think of the worldwide ability to get robots in that field, it's great. And it also matched our skill set that we've built up over the years really well. So we have a really highly educated group of people, team engineers. So quite a bit of them have a PhD as a background. Almost all of them has a master's. So with them, you can tackle the more difficult problems. And if you look at the logistics space, because of the huge variety of items that you need to handle. So like take Bol for instance, it's millions of items that they have on stock. So to teach or program a robot to be able to handle all these different items is a big challenge, and that fits to people that are well educated to tackle these bigger challenges.
Yeah, and now that you've grown, or maybe like in the future, do you have plans of coming back to this idea that like robots should be should replace every sector?
I do wonder every now and then. I don't think I will go back fast to tackle this complete wide range of applications. But I might open up in the future for adjacent markets and basically then expand again. Yeah. But first to become really market leading in one area before to actually open up the ability or the possibility to grow into a new area again.
Okay, yeah.
So I guess maybe that's also one of the biggest learning for me in starting up a company is that focus is one of the more essential things. So continue to think of where can I achieve more and more focus, and where do I how do you say, stay open for the business ability to widen the scope again to grow market opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And so can you quickly explain maybe like what your robots do? So they are pick and place robots, right? And so what is a pick and place robot?
Yeah, so the robots that robots, you have tons of different ones, right? You have drones, flying robots. You have mobile robots that drive around on wheels. The robots that we are working with are basically robot arms. So it's small to really large robot arms, like a human arm, with hands, but also with eyes. So basically, we have robot arms combined with cameras. And other sensors, and these robot arms indeed to pick and place tasks. Basically, meaning that with the camera technology we detect an item. For instance, we can detect that this is a cup on a table, and then the next step, what the robot does is actually figure out how to grasp this specific item. Because if you would have a suction cup grasping such an item, it will not really work to grasp it on the water inside. You will need to grasp it either here or with the handle. So based on the available gripping and grippers of the robot, the robot determines how to grasp it. It then picks it up, and then in the end, that's the picking part of it. And then the next step is that it needs to place it somewhere. And that can, for instance, be that it needs to be placed in a box, which then shipped to a client for like again maybe Bol as an example. And then it's important that this cup is placed on a stable position, because if you would put it on the side, it will probably start rolling if you try to package it. It could also be that it's part of an order where multiple items need to be combined in one box. And then the robot actually needs to figure out how to put this first cup such that it leaves the available space for other items that have been also ordered. So it's also about how to stack them neatly into a box to have the highest density basically of products. And that's basically it. So the core of the task that we're doing is like quite simple. It's picking something up and placing it somewhere. But the details of the things, for instance, if you would place boxes on a pallet, it sounds like pretty easy, like just stack the pallet. But actually, to stack the pallet in such a way that if you then start driving with it, that the whole stack doesn't tumble over, is again quite a difficult task. So there's a lot of AI involved basically to solve all these tasks and to have the robot functioning and it's at its utmost best, so to say.
Okay. You mentioned a lot of like technical challenges, but what do you think is like the most complex problem that maybe you encountered, or like just with the robot itself? Which part requires the most resources in a way? Maybe the part or...
So I guess the main answer there is the huge variety of situations that the robot can be, and the huge variety of items that need to be handled. And then the most difficult ones are sort of the exceptional cases that you also need to deal with some way. So we might be capable of handling boxes really well, but then one out of like 10,000 boxes is like made of shiny metal, or is see-through, transparent. And then also your camera technology needs to be able to deal with that single parcel. And then you might say, let's go for sort of like automating the 80% that we can do well, and let the rest still do by the operator. Because like I said in the beginning, for us, it's really about the combination of the operator and the robot together. But then we actually had this case basically in practice. Then it was the certain date was Singles Day, and a lot of orders were about these perfumes. And then immediately on this one day, it was like 40% or so were these very shiny boxes, and like, oh, we really need to do something to tackle this as well. Or these cases like that. Another one, a nice example is that we were stacking or destacking actually a roller cage with a lot of different parcels from that were shipped by consumers. Then I guess it were 1 or 2 boxes was around Christmas, or wrapped in Christmas paper, decoration paper, and we were actually picking it up with vacuum. So we had these grippers with vacuum cupped, and the only thing it did was like tear apart the wrapping paper and not pick up the oil. And then afterwards it picked up the box. But then it's like all these exceptional cases, to be able to also have the robot dealing with them, I think is the most difficult task in our applications.
Okay.
Yeah, and does, for example, for each new item, does the robot itself figure out what to do with the item, or is it pre-programmed to do certain things?
So basically we use deep learning to teach the robot how to deal with any item that it might encounter in the future.
Okay.
Because of the millions of different items it needs to be able to deal with, it's impossible to pre-program. But what we basically do is we train the robots with a great variety, with thousands of objects, of items, to be able to handle millions of items. And that's the awesome thing about AI or about deep learning. What we are applying there is that this actually is especially made for that, right? It's training on a subset and then deploying on an infinite variety of stuff.
Yeah, it's always super interesting, to be honest. You mentioned also about the user interface of the robots. I'm quite familiar with like digital user interface, but what do you mean like by robots user interface? Like how?
It's basically the touch screen which is next to the robot, with which you control the robot. And I mentioned this in the context of the different industries requiring different user interfaces. So when deploying, for instance, our robots at Philips, they have brilliant technicians running around there, controlling the whole factory there, all the machines in that production line. So what they needed to have is a lot of buttons and things to tweak the robot to be a little bit faster and a little bit more to the left and all these kinds of things. Whereas if you look at logistics, basically it's the persons working next to the robot that is also helping out the robot if it gets stuck in a certain situation. So basically what we do in logistics now is the robot has a start button and has a stop button. That's it, right? So if the robot is in any situation, it needs to figure out himself how to solve its own problems, so to say, and how to optimize its own behavior. It's not that we can simply ask the user to start tweaking, because that the user probably didn't have a PhD in robotics. Yeah. So, but that's also the nice thing. That's why we said the robot needs to be sort of autonomous in every sort of situation. So even like if you put the robot to pause, for instance, or you completely shut it down, and you start cleaning the one and cleaning the robot, and because you need to be somewhere, you can actually move the robot somewhere like in a really weird position. And then if you boot it up again, it says, hey, I'm in a really weird position. Are you okay for me to recover from this? And then you just say, the situation is safe. And then you say yes. And then the robot starts basically doing some magic to get back into its own operational mode again, without exposing the user to some interface like move me there and now press these buttons to get me in my wishful state again. No, it figures out all these things for himself.
Okay.
Wow, nice. Okay, and since you're the founder of Smart Robotics, so you also went through all the startup experience and the basically growing the company. So which part was the most crucial to your success? Please.
The most crucial, I'd say building the team. So being super strict on who to hire. So basically only hire the people that I think are best fitting our needs. And that's on the one hand, that's really about diversity. So you want to create a very diverse set of skills which together are able to sort of realize my dream. But at the same time, it's finding like-minded people that fit the culture that you're trying to build in the company. So and that's often quite difficult, right? So on the one hand, you want to have different people, on the other hand, you want to have sort of similar people. And I think that has to do a lot with growing the culture in the company. And that's super important at the beginning, because I feel that's where you really sort of set the culture. And so the first hires, I think, are one of the most important ones. And then if a culture has been set, it's more difficult to basically change a culture, though still it's super important to monitor that you don't get on a tangent, sort of. So growing and maintaining a culture that really works for us to really, like I said, deliver this dream by selecting the right people and creating the right atmosphere, the right environment for these people, I think is the most crucial one.
Okay, and just a bit about culture. Both Gilles and I, we had some business courses, and in a lot of those business courses, you learned like the thousands of different models for culture, like all the different theories and all that kind of stuff. So how much of that is like actually put to practice, or when you like talk about culture, you don't think about those?
It just comes
theories?
Naturally from like what you want in a way.
Nice question. I think it's very personal. So I think the company culture that I have grown just really fits me as a person very well, because it's like my belief of how a company should work. I think there's a little bit of an advantage that I'm Dutch, and Dutch is a culture in itself as well. So hiring people from the Netherlands to start with, but then also abroad, or people that came here, sort of naturally fit that culture. We sometimes do experience when we are hiring people from abroad, but sometimes it takes a while to get them integrated in the culture. But often it also like enriches the culture even more. And then at the same time, I think there's like I said in the beginning, it's also about learning and observing what certain choices, how they affect the culture itself. So sometimes or a lot of times I made wrong decisions as well, that afterwards I feel like, ooh, this wasn't what I've planned to do, and then it's also changing the culture, changing the actions to maintain the culture I'd like to have. But I sort of feel with you that I did have a lot of these courses as well. I didn't explicitly use a lot of these theories. Maybe that's also me a little bit as a personality. I'm not really working through a lot of theoretical models. I know a lot of great leaders are actually working through known and well-researched models. I tend to lead the company more by maybe a little bit gut feel and own learnings from my experience.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like really interesting. You know, when we're now learning and we sometimes question these things, whether we really need to like learn those, like how it actually like is in the industry. So it's nice to hear.
Yeah, it's. I think this sort of applies to a lot of different things. So it's about culture, but it's also about how to set up a leadership organization. So like how to set up your management, what managers. What investors to get in the company, for instance. What you have a lot of different types of investors. What does help the company, what doesn't, and then, like I said, I experienced a lot. I learned a lot just by doing, but I therefore also made a lot of mistakes. And every now and then I also feel like, I probably would have been able to grow faster when I didn't make this mistake. And then theory can help a lot. So I do like to have a lot of people around me to advise me from what they've learned, from theory or from practice. So it's also bringing in a lot of advice from and also to see how certain theory can actually be applied. So it's a lot of different skill sets together that I think make a good company.
Do you think that like your journey as a startup founder, like was the problems that you encountered was harder from technical part or like from non-technical, building a team, and the things that you mentioned now?
Wow, difficult question. So I guess it depends a little bit of the viewpoint. I guess if you would ask any of our engineers, they would probably say it's the technical part. But me and in my position in the company, I'm mostly involved, especially in strategic decisions, which I tend to feel to be the most difficult ones. I guess it's also really hard to compare the one to the other. It also has to do with the phase of the company. So especially in the first couple of years of the company, it was about making the right technical choices. And now it's way more about choosing the right go-to-market strategy to actually commercialize what we've created faster. So I guess it's also has to do with the phase that the company is in.
Okay, with this stage. Okay, makes sense totally.
What's your approach to leadership? How do you manage your company?
Do you have any maybe predefined rules?
Yeah.
You said that you follow your gut feeling, but maybe like from that gut feeling, you have like structure of rules that you follow.
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of different ways to manage a company. So I believe a lot in growing ownership with all with every individual team member, basically on all levels of the company. I don't like the more directive approaches. So basically, if the company can do it without me, I've created the best possible way, in my view, to lead the company. But it's really about enabling people to take decisions themselves, to really feel the responsibility for a certain task, but also to be explicit in what their responsibility is. But next to that, to really work together as a team, so that people help each other, and that that it's not on each individual to solve its own challenges or its own tasks within its responsibility, but that everybody is able to work together with his closest people around him, team members, to fix any challenge. So therefore I'm more like let's have a really well definition of the goals on the company level, such that everybody sort of has a joint ownership on objectives, even on a top level, but also downwards to the lower level, to really make the company succeed. So I even want to have that. That's also, I guess, and that's another thing, I guess, of the leadership's question that you asked. I also like openness a lot, and it's also sort of really like relates to creating ownership at all those levels. So that's why basically, of course, we've had our tough times as well, where it was, for instance, difficult to raise money, especially last year. It was quite a tough year. We did succeed and are super happy to how do you say, to be able to grow again. But in these tough periods, that's also the moment that I also do share these tough moments with all the employees, to basically make them part of the whole journey that I'm having as founder of the company as well, to well, basically also have them worry about the financing challenge, where they might not have a big influence. So the engineers are not responsible for finding the next investor. But if they understand that it's like now super important to get a next investor, such that engineers make a bit of extra effort to deliver the best functioning robot at a customer, and that this customer is then speaking greatly about us to such an investor, then everybody has either an indirect or a direct influence on everything. So openness, ownership, teamwork, I think, are sort of keywords in the leadership approach that I'm carrying out.
Okay, so you mentioned these three qualities. So in a way, when you like have a certain task, specific task, you search for those qualities, especially like for a person that you want to assign that task for. Also, I mean, you have a technical task, and you want someone to be responsible for that technical task, and you don't want to be involved in a way because you have other tasks. So you search for a person similar to you, or you have like different approach? What qualities basically do you search for, or it depends on the tasks?
Good question. I guess yes, I do search for people similar to me, but again, that's also a big pitfall, right? If you have all of the same people, then it doesn't work as well. So I think it's finding the right balance there, but at least they should be open to these basic principles. They should be able to take ownership. They should be able to communicate openly to the people leading them, but also people they are leading. They should be able to work together with their fellow team members fluently and not go on an own route. So definitely searching for these basic principles in every person that I add to the team. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Recently, I did a project where we interviewed another CEO of an Eindhoven company, and what he said is basically that in their company there are neither positive nor negative rewards or I guess like punishments for any outstanding performance. So what is your take on this, and should there be some?
I think it depends a little bit on how we define a reward, because I fully believe in, if you accomplish something, that you need to celebrate.
Yeah,
and celebration in its own is a reward. But then if you speak about money, sort of like in awards, it depends on the person. So like if you look at salespersons, they are very used to money as a reward. So bonuses is super common in sales. So yes, we have bonuses in our sales team as well to reward them if they do well. Punishing is a different thing. I'm fully with you or with that CEO, and that punishing is not the way to go. I think it's rewarding. It's giving rewards. Yes, punishing. I'm looking for examples where I actually punished something. I think if some person is really non-functioning, dysfunctional, then the punishment is that this person would have to leave the company because if it's not able to fit the company, fit the team, or not to perform, then. But then, well, is that punishing? I think then it's also in the interest of this person to find a better career elsewhere as well. And maybe then I'm sort of polishing such a thing, but no, I think you could even say it's not really punishment, although it might feel punishment for that individual, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like punishment is a harsh word, but what I meant is like when somebody's outperforming, they get rewarded, but for example, people who are just doing their part, they're not really getting anything, which might lead to like some unnecessary competition or something. So by punishment, yeah, I mean just like underperforming and not getting the bonuses that your other colleague is getting. But yeah.
And it also, what for example, if you see like a person very like great-minded person, and you see that he's lacking in terms of his own like potential, how do you manage that situation? And do you try to encourage him to do like as best as he can in his work, or you just leave that him as it is because you think like maybe it's natural that that's how he's doing things? And
yeah, so again, I guess this has to do with culture and the people we onboard in the company. So everyone that we have in the company basically wants to grow and wants to continuously sort of perform better. So I do know companies indeed with people that are like, I'm okay here and you know, just leave me where I'm at. We don't have these people, so that's hard for me to judge. And with people that want to grow, it's actually not a very difficult task then. It's more like through discussions with every team member, finding the right way for that person to grow, which might be exposing that person to new challenges, new tasks. It might be linking up this people with people from outside of a company to grow faster, so to get more sort of coaching from externally, and it can basically be any means to grow persons.
okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Yeah, I think so. I also saw like your videos. You were making videos. And one of the video you were introducing like innovation days, which quite seemed like a cool idea. I think just blogging in general is quite a cool idea, because if you need to find something about the company, it's really hard to, from like just what the website, and you do these like personal vlogs. I think it's super cool idea. So yeah, but my question is like, did you have any spin-off of those innovation days? And like, how does it help with entrepreneurship in the company, like those days?
Nice one, because, and I think that's also one of the struggles in if you're growing the company. So especially when you, to my experience, get sort of around this 50 employees and beyond, then it becomes more and more difficult to have, like, I guess let's call it entrepreneurship at every level of the company. So if you're like small, you're starting up, then it's everyone feels like I'm part of this company and I'm going for the higher goals, and we're all in this together. But when the company grows, you actually do need more structure in the company. You need processes. You need a lot of things to get alignment between the several teams that you've created. You get some hierarchy in the company. And that actually led to some challenges for me, basically as a leader, to keep stimulating entrepreneurship in the company. And one of these means is to have these innovation days, to basically say, here you have, we do once per quarter. It's like 3 days that we don't plan anything. It's like go innovate, do fun stuff that you think might be worthwhile or not. You know, you don't know what comes out of it. Because also, if you look at product development, so if you start structuring a larger company, a growing company, you get into road mapping, you get into this is what we're going to do then, and you start planning like a year ahead. But it also reduces the freedom to basically innovate. It reduces the freedom to do whatever comes on your pathway that might be super valuable for the company. So that's why also, not only I think for the people and the culture, these innovation days help a lot, but also to get to the best new ideas. And then definitely, if I look at the results from these innovation days, I guess like 50% of the things that enter into the road mapping process afterwards basically originated from such an innovation days. It's actually super interesting because we always say it's sort of no strings attached, right? So even if they want to do something which is with doesn't have a lot to do with our applications, then it would be fine. You know, it could also be something totally different. But it sort of automatically always is on stuff that actually does relate to our applications and well, great ideas arrive from this and lead to basically road mapping stuff and to really putting a lot of engineering hours in it after these innovation days. Yeah.
Okay. It seems super cool. And also, maybe I will just continue with this question. During that video, you also, I think the engineer told that there is a pitch after those innovation days, and then you choose the idea. How does it happen? Like, how do you have the voting process? Only maybe engineers vote if like engineers create like certain problem, or how does it work? The whole company vote? What is the like, I don't know, the
So basically the way we set it up is that the whole company is able to supply IDs for the innovation days. And then so then we got a huge list of innovation days. Then before the innovation days, everybody pitches his ID, and basically with this pitch invites people to join on his idea. And then when we start the innovation days, then sort of naturally groups form around these IDs. But it's not that we select only the top 5. It's like everybody can work on anything he wants, but by pitching to each other, things like people say like, hey, that's super interesting. I want to actually work with you on this. And then sort of we automatically have these teams that are created. But like I said, the setup is for the whole company. So basically, I want the whole company to be innovative, not only within R&D to think of the next new innovation from a technical perspective, but we can also innovate in the way how to address customers through marketing efforts. We can also be innovative in the way we administer our finance, for instance. But I do have to admit that most of the innovation days are still like 95% an R&D thing. And we're putting effort in it to actually make it more a company-wide thing. Which I think it's also one of the challenges there is, like I said, with the growth of the company, you do create a little bit of groups. It's sort of a team of it's a commercial team. It's a team that does the R&D, and then the innovation days basically was originated from R&D, and then it actually is a little bit different to onboard the other groups as well. Whereas the idea is terrific, it does create a little bit of more effort to really make it a company-wide thing, which is definitely the aim.
Okay. But yeah, you mentioned you still now focus mainly in the company, like this innovation days. Maybe you have thought about like inviting someone outside, for example, students, so you can maybe help on the project, like for those couple of days.
Yeah, very nice idea, definitely.
Because I believe like students would really, they could learn from the experts, and also the students can give like these brilliant, like new ideas in a way they think differently.
Nice idea, I like it. So we're doing it a little bit, I guess. but it's a little bit of next to the innovation days, and some other thing that we have is what we call Q events. So every quarter, we look back and look forward. So basically, looking back is that we present each other all the developments and sales efforts and gains and the marketing results. So every team basically reports back to everybody what he has achieved, and also looks ahead, like this is our plans for the upcoming quarter. And we always try to extend this quarterly event with external guests that can, for instance, speak or bring an idea or a challenge or whatever. So that's one of these things that you make me think about. On the other hand, we do have quite a bit of students at the company. So we have students, of course, doing internships at the company. Often, most of the times, normally we have like 2 or 3 students that we can sort of supervise. It also requires some effort, of course. And next to this, we have student workers. So typically around 5 or so, 5, 6 student workers. So basically students that like to have a side job on the side, that work for us in either a programming task, so they can actually be part of an engineering team, a development team, or they can do all kinds of more practical tasks as well. So it's a lot of different student workers together, and these student workers definitely also have the ability to join in these innovation days. But having said that, I like your idea to think about how we can actually open it up a little bit more. For even outsiders to join in these innovation days. So let's speak more on this maybe afterwards, and if anybody here listen on the listeners have an idea, then open to think together with you guys. Nice idea, thanks.
Okay. And so moving on, we want to ask you a bit about the future of robotics as a field. And so now currently the most profitable application is warehousing and logistics, so the sector you're in. So what are other promising sectors where this technology can be applied?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and that's basically how we started, right? So I still strongly believe in all the fields that we were addressing are still super promising markets as well. But it's for the reasons that I said at the beginning why we focused on the warehousing market. But still, if you look at, for instance, building construction, that we also have some robots deployed in our first years, it's a huge market opportunity as well. If you see that the numbers of workers in building construction doing super repetitive and strengthful tasks, it's crazy. It's mind-blowing. If I look at it, like, why not develop a robot to do it, right? If I look at persons baking burgers at the fast food, it's like, why not have a machine or robot, or how do you call it, doing this? It's like, I guess, any repetitive tasks that you see in the world, and there's like an amazing amount of these, is very well suited for robots. I think about cleaning applications, and then you come to an area where it gets more difficult, because cleaning application, you have a lot of different environments to be able to deal with. Like every room has its different obstacles, and then it becomes more difficult. But again, maybe start with cleaning the toilets in a hotel. Right, in a hotel, every room is the same. Why not have a robot doing those tasks? And still, you don't see them yet. You have robots that serve as a waiter in a restaurant. So that's starting to become one of these areas, which is good. But there's tons of them out there.
Yeah, but why are they not here?
Because it's difficult. So applications might feel like simple, but it's like also in logistics is the great variety of tasks, and it's the exceptions that the robot also needs to be able to deal with, which makes it difficult. So if I now compare our robots in the warehousing to a worker in the warehouse, an operator working next to the robot, then the robot is not even capable of reaching like 0.1% of what a human is capable of doing. A human is so much better at all these things. So technology is not there's a long way to go, and many decades before we are able to get robots on the level that a human is able to work in an environment which is basically made for humans. So, and that's with most of these tasks, basically it is replacing a human worker with a robot. But then looking at what the worker is capable of doing, it is like super difficult, right? So and then it's difficult with the perception challenge. So yes, we do have really good cameras already, but if the sun is shining as well, then there's not any camera able to fulfill its duty in a decent way already, you know, or if it's rainy or foggy. And if you just look at the human eyes, which are able to actually adjust for all these things, well, we're not there yet. Yeah.
Yeah, and is a human cheaper or a robot over a line?
No, robot is definitely cheaper. So
cheaper, okay.
So if you compare the two, a human in a production or a warehouse, typically the cost of a human is like 25 euros per hour. If you look at the total costs for a company, and a robot is a little bit different, right? Because basically you buy a machine. Whereas it's interesting and models are being shifted to more as a service. So robots as a service, we sometimes call it. So have a robot also being paid by the hour. Still, often robots are being just bought as a one-off transaction. Yeah? You pay 100,000 euros for a robot. And if you look at a factory operating like 24/7, or even a factory like operating or another environment operating for 16 hours for 6 days per week, then there's 100,000 euros. Well, just divide it over the 25 euros per hour, then you'll see that you have earned back this robot in like 1 or 2 years of work, whereas a robot is able to function at least for 10 years. So that's what. Hence, you could say like a robot is like at least 5 times as cheap or less expensive as a human.
Do you also think that there is like a human factor of like robots replacing humans? You know, that's why it is not like going into the market as well.
Not anymore. So if you would have asked me like 5 to 10 years ago, I would say yes, because there was a lot of politics going around on that specific question. I actually myself, as being representing the robotics community in The Hague as well. But things have changed enormously over these last decades, sort of. Now it's like people start to understand that we basically need the robots in order to be able to continue doing what we like to do and to continue to grow. So like people understand that if you want to have every parcel delivered to your home through e-commerce, like if you just order online, that in the end this will not continue to grow if we have to continue to rely on every task being done by a human. It's just impossible. So our needs on all these things are way bigger than what can be served by humans. And we have seen a lot of these examples already, right? So if you just look, I think it was 2 years ago, where Schiphol was struggling enormously, and probably still are, with the handling of the baggage, not able to get people, not able to get people in security, because there's just not enough people to do that repetitive work, or not enough people willing to do that work. And that has sort of now come to a sort of a general understanding, I guess, of people, of the community, of the society, through which I actually hardly have any discussions on that fear. Also, quite a bit of research has been conducted on that, also showcasing that actually industries that widely adopted robots actually grew that fast that the need for humans was actually growing instead of decreasing. So It's fortunately for us as a company, of course, it's no discussion at all anymore. Whereas it was like a decade ago.
Okay.
Now the same fear, I think, has shifted a lot to AIs and
Yeah.
large language models. Do you think it will end up the same as with robots? Like gradually it will create also other jobs that you will need humans for?
Yeah. So yes, so I'm not saying that robots aren't replacing jobs. Definitely, we are replacing a lot of jobs. But I also think that a lot of these jobs that we are actually replacing as a robot with a robot, in essence, aren't really made for most of the people. If you just look at the number of back problems physical problems that people are having because of the highly repetitive stuff, then I feel especially with the physical robots that we are deploying, there's the benefit that they are realizing in the world is so much bigger than sort of the danger of them entering the world. Of course, you need to. Well, no. Let me put it differently. I think for the next 30 years, the robot, the physical robot, will definitely be just a tool that we are using as people. And the nice thing of a tool is that basically you can switch it on and off, and you can use it to your needs. You can also misuse it, but then it's more like the people that are sort of not using it in the right way and not deploying it in the right way for warfare or whatever, that would sort of start making me worry about that.
Okay. So we started talking about AI, and you mentioned that you're using machine learning algorithms. In which products you use machine learning, maybe specifically, and do you use outside of technical things? For example, as of hiring people, scanning the resumes, for example, do you use AI tools there already, or only in the robotics part, or?
So in the robotics part, to start answering that question first, yes, we use AI a lot. We use it a lot, especially for the perception task. So maybe too technical, but then stop me. But we're using basically convolutional neural networks to detect objects. So basically, if we look at an item, we have this AI helping us to determine whether it's a cup or a box or I don't know what it could be. So it gives us a lot of really valuable information for the robots to perform. We're also using deep reinforcement learning, for instance, to determine how to build up a pallet, how to densely stack a pallet with the boxes such that the pallet doesn't tumble over. So within the core of our application, we're using deep learning or AI all over the place. In our other more as how do you say, as more on the sides, to use as tools in the organization a little bit. So we've started to adopt AI a little bit, but more as experiments, I guess, than that we are widely adopting it. For instance, with sometimes the writing of a certain article for the media, it can just help to find different wordings, for instance, or to set the first thing up. Resumes, nice things as well. So we are using a lot of third parties for recruitment purposes, and they might be using these tools already. Not sure. Definitely using these tools for our marketing strategy. So basically, determining what works best and what works less. To use data-based approaches to find out if a certain marketing event really worked out well or not. But for that, I guess our use is mostly indirectly of AI tools. We did try it also a little bit with programming. So like you can use also generative AI basically to make a first go on a new piece of software. It does work actually, so it can help a programmer to do programming. Again, there we're definitely not using it throughout everything that we do, but every now and then we experiment with it and see if it helps us.
Okay. So maybe the more straightforward, controversial question: do you think that AI and robots will end off the humanity?
No, definitely not. But it has to do with what I said like just before. So for me, it's like the tool is and will still be a tool with an on-off button that you can just switch on and off to your needs. So the robot itself, I don't feel that the robots themselves will decide to become an army or whatever. You know, it's in the end the people behind using those robots, those tools. To their needs, that actually it's more the danger of the people that will end humanity from the view of warfare or from the view of environmental decisions being made, and then the robots could have an impact on the positive side and on the negative side, just on how they are being used in the end by people, if you ask me. But it's a personal opinion, I guess.
Yeah.
And okay, so we have now really rapidly developing LLMs, and we have robotics, right? When do we see a fusion of the two? So we like robotics is the body of a human, let's say, and the LLM is like the speech, the mind or stuff.
A humanoid
Yeah.
robot.
When do we see the combination and
Yeah.
the whole robotic human?
Yeah, so I feel it will still take decades. But having said that, big companies are actually making good progress on this as well. So if you look at what Tesla is actually working on humanoid robots for the factories, that we see companies like Boston Dynamics also working on these kinds of things. For me, in all these applications that I look at, especially for production line or warehouse logistics, then I'm like, why would you ever have a robot walking on a flat surface that is way more equipped for wheels? Like, I just don't understand it. But then something in me also is like, but why do people then do it? There must be something, right? But it's like, so in essence, the robot is doing jobs or stuff that people that are basically first being done by people in a human environment, and then it does make sense to mimic human behavior because the whole environment is sort of tailor-made for us. The reason that the table here is at this height is because of our length. So then it does make a lot of sense to just try to mimic a human, mimic the human for in a robot to function in the same environment. Personally, I more feel like adjusting the environment to suit the needs of the technology, which is currently sort of the state of the art. And then, again, wheels just work way more better than robots trying to walk around, which is still very slow, you know?
Yeah, could it be like our human factor that we want to see something that comes from like what used to be science fiction, even though like joints are much harder to replicate than wheels, like legs in general?
Yeah, it might be. It might also be because of an investment perspective.
Yeah.
Because if you would be able to actually mimic human behavior, then scalability is like enormous, and the scalability is also quite easy if you don't have to modify the environment for it. Yeah. So if you take the previous example, like cleaning a hotel room, if you don't have to modify the environment and you have robots doing that, functioning in that environment, it is more easy, true. But technology is definitely not there to do so in an efficient way, such that the robot is actually cheaper than to make a business case, basically.
Okay. You maybe just shifting a little bit of the topic. You mentioned that a lot of like fields that that like you have to work on as a CEO. How does your day look like in general, and how much time do you, for example, spend on technical parts, on marketing parts, and on all these different fields as a manager of the company?
Yeah, good question. So, and of course, that's very different from when I started the company than now. So, when I started the company, I was actually doing own developments on the user interface or whatever. I was even doing bookkeeping as well, so invoicing and things like that. Currently, it's much different. So, I'm glad to have a large group of people doing all that stuff, and my responsibility and task and things that I like to do mostly is all on the strategic side. So I guess my best day is like so typically the day starts with thinking in the shower. It's like creating this sort of next best idea to change something, to add something to the company or whatever. And that actually only requires like 5 or 10 minutes of works maybe in a week. And all the rest is about bringing that into practice by, well, motivating people, by guiding people, leading people in the end, to in the end deliver on that. And then, of course, like 90% of the work done in the company is about growing and maintaining what we have. It's a lot about this in the end, also about operations, you know it. But the nice thing, I guess, from my role, which I like a lot, is to continuously think about the next step, and what are the small next steps that we should do in order to make the biggest step if you look a year back, sort of. A little bit of a fuzzy question, I guess, and I'm not giving you. Is it concrete enough, or are you?
It is concrete enough. We continue with that. You said that you take showers and think of ideas. Are those showers cold or not? Like all the entrepreneurs talk about cold showers. So
yeah, I just don't like cold showers. No, my showers aren't cold.
Okay, so it's not the secret that it all comes from the cold. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, what do you see for yourself in the future, and what are your future plans?
Yeah, good question. So, I think that's one of the most difficult questions for me to answer, which might be a little bit strange, because I guess setting up a company is all about understanding where sort of your target is, and where you want to be in 5 years from now, and making the steps that actually, or on a day-to-day and a week-to-week manner, bring you closer to that end result. But if you ask me as a person, I find that way more difficult to answer. I'm, as a person, much more in enjoying every day, living the life that I'm living and that I'm really enjoying. It's more like, like I said, enjoying every day and making decisions that I feel that are correct on that path. So like, for me, it's about the reason that I've set up the company is that I really like to set up a new company, and it's not that I thought, hey, this is, if I choose to become a CEO, I will make the most money, or whatever. No, for me, it's really about, that's just what I really like to do on a day-to-day manner. So putting that into the perspective where I want to be, I don't know. As long as I still enjoy what I'm doing in 10 years from now, which might be the same. I might be working in a similar company. So it might be that Smart Robotics grows to like 1,000 people or more, and that I'm working to start another company again with like now with 10 years from now 50 people, it might be that I'm still enjoying a lot working for Smart Robotics, even being over 1,000 people of size. It might be that I'm doing something completely different that I encountered with, and that I think, hey, that's nice. Let's go that pathway as well. So I don't have a clue, basically.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's very cool to hear that you enjoy what you do, and it seems that you really enjoy what you're doing. But yeah, I want to ask about like free time. Do you even like think then about free time? Because we usually imagine as free time being the time that we want to actually, in a way, do what we want to do. And if you do what you want to do in your like work environment, do you need that? And how, like, you know, sometimes you get stuck in doing something and you still, you know, outside somewhere or in your head that you need to go somewhere else and maybe do like from time to time some other tasks to not lose the grip in a way of the whole world.
Yeah.
And yeah, how do you manage that? And
I
does
think
work?
nice question, by the way. But I think free time is super important for me, at least as a person. I think, and at least for me, enjoying every day, but also staying healthy, is about variation. So if I would like do work for like 100 hours per week, which I definitely did in the beginning. Sometimes you have to do it. Sometimes you still have to do it when something is really tough. But it's definitely not healthy because work basically is, well, sitting in a seat talking with people or behind the computer or in video calls, you know, or in the car. And sitting is just not a healthy thing to do too often. So my work is also about continuously really thinking hard about the next thing to do. And I just think like thinking for 16 hours a day is not healthy as well. So for me, it's about the combination of work with sports, with family life, really finding the right balance. So hobbies is also super important. So if I wouldn't have hobbies that I enjoyed a lot, then I would probably be working because I do like it a lot. But then if I find myself working for like, I don't know, 12 hours a day or more, I also consciously realized that it's just not healthy and therefore, as a result, also not something that I keep enjoying then over time.
Okay. You mentioned sports. What do you play something specific?
I started playing paddle tennis.
Okay.
Which I now enjoy a lot. I try to bike to work every now and then, things like that.
Okay, that's good. Maybe a question like for my personal, I don't know, interest. Do you enjoy traveling? And do you still have time for traveling, or you just do like business trips all around the world and you like somehow?
Not really. I did enjoy it a lot. I did travel a lot as well, so I earned a lot of air miles. But now, basically, traveling. So I think that what I enjoy in traveling is experiencing different cultures and seeing different things. But often traveling is blocking family life and sports. So it's also in the way of things that I think are healthy and that I enjoy a lot. So therefore, having traveled the world a lot, having seen the inside of a plane way too often, I would say no, I don't really enjoy traveling that much anymore. Okay. I do enjoy traveling with the family, of course. I go on a holiday trip or whatever. That's different. That's not, of course, traveling to visit another customer or just another investor at the other side of the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
And you were a TE student also. What are your most fond memories about the university, and what is like the best part about this university?
Student life also maybe.
Yeah, so I liked the freedom a lot that I had at university. I actually didn't have a lot of difficulties with studying, so I was quite easily able to get to pass my exams, basically. So that's why I became a little bit of a lazy student, to be really honest with you. So I basically studied like I shouldn't say this here on I guess on the camera, but I was fan of doing like a couple of days before starting and then doing the exam, and it actually worked out. So what I did do a lot is a lot of how do you call in Dutch is bestuurswerk. I'm thinking of like being in a board of sports. Sports association, yeah. Those things I liked a lot, doing sports, doing going out, going clubbing or whatever. You know, it's I enjoyed my time a lot during it, just because of the freedom to basically do whatever you feel works best for me. And afterwards, I did my PhD as well here. And there I necessarily had to become more, how do you say, disciplined in, and but then again, I guess what I enjoyed then most is throughout these 4 years of my PhD to really have my own project, to take control over my own project and to really to get this from start to finish, and to get the whole PhD thesis done, and with this start working in also in how do you say, in industry.
Was it hard, like now, for example, in our case, it's quite difficult to make the decision because you never know what you want to do in the future, like what the future holds for you. And was it sometimes like doing PhD seems quite necessary if you want to go into the industry and, for example, start a company. So, like, how did you choose to do a PhD, and what was your reasoning? And
I'm actually more a practical guy than a theoretical guy, and a PhD thesis often, also mine, was a lot about theory. Oh. So when I graduated from my master's, I said, no, I don't want to do a PhD. It's way too theoretic. So I guess one part is that my professors convinced me of doing it, because it was like, but why not? You know, you can do it. Why not do it? It will be a good experience. It was in the end. So like I said, for me, it was quite tough to really 4 years dive into theory. But for me, it also gave me a lot of confidence. Like, give me any challenge and I'll tackle it. Even doing a PhD in a very theoretical approach, where I'm more a practical guy. So for me, it has grown me as a person a lot. I think for me, that was even more important than the knowledge I've gained in that specific area that I did my PhD. So I think I had myself convinced also by my environment to do what I did. On the other hand, I also looked for the right circumstances, as I was lucky enough a little bit to do my PhD sort of 50-50 in the company and at the university. So I had the ability to actually bring in quite a bit of the practical things I was actually working on an actual application, and not only on a theoretical approach. So I was able to create better circumstances, more fitting to my needs. And then just start. And what helped me as well is that I always said from the start, I start to do a PhD, but for me it's like a job which I can quit at any moment in time. So I'm fully satisfied if I would quit after 2 years or 3 years, even not having achieved my PhD. It's not. But of course, after like 2 or 3 years, I'm like, okay, now I want to meet the end goal as well. Now I'm going for the goal, and I wouldn't be satisfied not reaching that. But it helped me by choosing in the beginning, by sort of be relaxed with myself, is let's just see and try and adjust along the way. Allow myself, like I'm like in starting a company, just start and adjust along the way. And if that would mean starting a PhD and quitting after half a year, allow yourself to quit. But also experience what you're learning and allow yourself to continue, of course, if you think, hey, this is actually super valuable for me.
Do you enjoy more being a student or like being a CEO now, or maybe like a
Wow. It's different. It's just a completely different life. I think that makes it hard to compare, right? You know, it's like I'm on the one hand now I'm CEO, but I'm also the father of 2 amazing kids and husband of a wife, and then I was a student partying all over. And it's like, you know, it's like 2 different worlds. I am enjoying both a lot. If I now would go back to become a student where I'm right now, I wouldn't enjoy it, I guess. But if I at that time would have to become immediately a father, I wouldn't enjoy it as well. So it's like it's different in a different phase of the life, I guess.
Okay. Maybe to wrap it up, one last question. Can you tell us like the most bizarre story, if you have some, from your student life?
Bizarre. I don't. To be honest, there's no real bizarre story coming in my entering my mind now. But maybe something fun. To maybe keep it in the robotics. So actually, as a student, I was very into robotics already. I did quite a bit of student contests with different students from different faculties. We've joined these various basically robot matches, whereas you have RoboCup right now with the soccer robots and the healthcare robots, etc. Those things I did a lot, and one of the things that I've then did as well was robot wars. So we've built a big ass robot to actually compete in the UK against other robots to actually smash in on each other. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds very cool.
Yeah, it was.
There was a movie, I think so, about something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And maybe what was sort of, not sure it's bizarre or whatever, but actually because it was linked to a TV show, and then the programming of the TV show actually changed, through which it was all broadcasted live, through which the live event was needed to be broadcasted like, I think it was 4 weeks or something, or 2 months or so, and it's quite a bit more early than it was planned in the beginning. Whereas we had a complete plan to actually make this robot and to get this robot tested and delivered, and then our plan was like shortened with 1 or 2 months, and we were like, so we would have had like, I think 2 months of time to complete the robot, and then we immediately only had like 1 week, and we were like, how? How can we ever complete this thing in 1 week? Yeah. That was like crazy. And then we said, let's just do it and see where we get. And then we worked like for 1 week based on Red Bull. we worked like days and nights in a row. It was like, it even was, that's maybe a fun fact as well. It was in parallel with me finishing my master's thesis, actually. And I was like, how? So this was actually quite a bizarre week, I have to say. I think it was like, I thought, okay, I will work for a week for nights and days in a row. And then I decided not to join the contest in the UK, to actually finish my thesis in time as well. It was like, maybe that was a little bit bizarre. Maybe that's the best thing I can think of right now to answer your question.
Yeah, it seems bizarre. So and fun story. Do you have any?
How was your robot equipped to destroy the other robot?
So we had so it was actually it felt like a big cheese or something. Well, that was the shape of it, and it has a rim or a ring with metal. You have these digging machines, and these digging machines, they have these teeth on there. So these teeth we actually mounted on this ring, and this ring rotated with what was it, like 1,000 RPM or so. It was like bizarre. And this ring itself was like weighing like 30 kilograms or so, which was driven by the most heavy chainsaw motor that we could find in industry. So the most dangerous thing actually was testing this thing. We built, but how to test it? Because. So we've built this construction with tables on its side, and then looking like with controlling with, and then throwing in, having the robot driving against a fridge and a canoe, which were like poof poof. The fridge flew through the hole, and we're like, this is bizarre. But basically, that's what we created. It's fun. It was a really fun project.
Did the robot have 2 wheels, or how did it move?
It had chained wheels. Yeah, tank wheel.
Okay.
Which went actually through the bottom and the top. So it actually was able to drive on its
both directions.
On its top and on its back. Basically, because you have these big other robots that flip you, and then you need to be able to just continue driving on your back.
That seems so cool. Are these events happening still?
No, I think that game has stopped. At least in the Netherlands, it has stopped. I think we were part of the last episode, and it was years back, right? But I'm not sure if it's still going on in the UK at some occasion, but.
It seems quite dangerous, in the weekend.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks for coming. Do you have any maybe questions, remarks for us?
No. So let's follow up on this idea of opening up the innovation days with some bright researchers, students, or whatever. I like that idea. Let's continue on that. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming again, and thanks for listening. Subscribe, leave a comment and a like if you like.
And share.